But let's go ahead and get started. If you needed it, last chance. The Wi-Fi is SMU guest. You have to log in. I'll send you the password. If you haven't already, please join the group. This is the short link to the meetup group. We just crossed 500 members last week. We're already up to 520 as of this morning. When I started this just in November last year, that was kind of my goal, was if we get over 500, we'd have pretty much critical mass to keep it going. We have a couple sponsors for this group. SMU is giving us the space to do these events for free, which is fabulous. We truly appreciate that. My company is InfoNoot, so I do all the legwork to try and organize speakers, coordinate. Setting up the rooms, and the cookies and drinks come from VizMe. Anybody familiar with VizMe? VizMe is an online platform for not only infographics design, but also presentation design, banners, that kind of thing. For those of you who aren't deep into Adobe Creative Suite, it's kind of a substitute for, say, using Illustrator. The presentation tool is a substitute for PowerPoint. So you can have all your stuff online and even share slides and designs with the whole team, and you can all be using the same slides for different presentations, that kind of thing. They're based in DC, so we don't get to see them very often, but we appreciate their support. The group, how many people, it's first night? First time joining the group? Thank you very much. Part of the group that have joined in the last month. Our whole goal is to provide this local networking group in the Dallas area. There's some pretty big groups in New York, DC, Chicago, San Francisco, but we didn't have one here in Dallas. So that's really the point of our group, is to engage with the local community, whether it's programming and doing hard data viz, or if it's just trying to do marketing and doing better presentations and better charts. It's that whole range of topics within data visualization. We're always looking for new speakers, specifically speakers that are local, so that we don't have to pay travel expenses, that kind of thing. So please, if you know of anybody who would make a good speaker, send me a note, and we'll see if we can set that up. We do this once a month. We'll also discover design tools. We do design tool demos, as we did a couple months ago. Employment opportunities, find people to support your company, and then just generally data visualization, infographics, best practices. We do take a moment to talk about employment. If anybody is actively looking for a job, or is actively, your company has an open position and you're looking for someone, I open it up if you want to announce it or share it with the group. Anybody looking and be hiring that you're willing to share? Okay. We do open that up every time. A number, not everyone, but a number of our past events are on YouTube. If you haven't seen that, you can either search for me, search for DFW DataViz, or this short link, DFW DataViz video. We'll get you to the videos. We've got about 4 of them up there now. So if you miss an event or you want to go see one of the past events, all those are available. We talk about upcoming events in the area. Our next event is going to be in August, on August 27th. I haven't put it up on the site yet. And it's going to be a series of lightning talks, and we're going to partner with DFW Big Data, another group. And the idea is SMU is going to do this back to school. They have all these classes, mine. There's an R programming class, there's a big data class, there's a user experience class, and have all these people do like 5-minute lightning talks just about one topic. And so we're going to see about probably 7, 8, I think, speakers just do that one night. And so once they have all those details, I'm going to post that in the next week or two, and you'll see that show up on the meetup site. But we do know the date. It's going to be the 27th, and it's going to be here at the Plano campus. Anybody else have an upcoming event you know of in data viz, programming, anything you're involved in you want to share? If not, I know of a couple. Big Design Dallas is coming up in September. It's a big design that's over in Addison, where they're going to hold the conference at bigdesigndallas.com. If you want to go, we do have a discount code that'll get you 20% off. I think all their early bird pricing is over. I think that finished in June, but you can still get 20% off if you use the code DataViz. I teach a class here at SMU, part of their continuing and professional education program. It's going to start on September 24th, and it's a 6-week class where we go through data visualization design, chart design, infographics, storyboarding, infographic resumes, promoting and publishing infographics, and even dabble a little bit in animation, and some interactive infographics as well. So the course, I think, is $4.95, but if you use the course MUDV, which is Meetup DataViz, you'll get $50 off the price. And it's once a week for 6 weeks. Okay, so tonight, the topic is going to be optimizing infographics, meaning you've already done all the design work, you've spent weeks doing storyboarding and data research and the design. Now, what do you do with it? Because now your boss, your company, somebody says, well, put it out there, we want it to go public and we want to use it as part of our content marketing. Quick intro to me, if you don't know me and you haven't met me before. My name's Randy Krum, my design company is InfoNewt here in the DFW area. I run the website coolinfographics.com and wrote the book Cool Infographics, as well as teaching the course here at SMU. So pretty active in the DataViz community, not only here in Dallas, but in other cities as well. There are a handful of links from the presentation tonight, but I put them all on this one page, so you don't have to scribble down a bunch of URLs during the presentation. If you just go to coolinfographics.com/optimize, you should see a bunch of links that are going to be included in the presentation. Everybody got that? Optimize. Okay. So tonight we need to talk about what's the problem. Why do we even have to worry about optimizing infographics? We've done a great design. Let's assume we've done this fabulous infographic design. Why does it need any more effort than that? One of the key things to know is that people will find your infographic and your information, usually through search. Anybody seen this before? So you can hide stuff on page 2 of Google search results and nobody will ever find it because most people just look at that top page, the first 10 results. And when I say most people, it's way over 90–95% of people that never go to page 2 of search results. Which is why we talk about infographics and how it relates to SEO. So some companies use infographics to help build up their search engine optimization, and we're going to pretty much go the other way. We're going to use SEO to help publicize and promote infographics, and that's what we're going to run through tonight. So, as a background, there are really only 3 search engines. The 4 big ones are Google, Bing, Baidu in China, and Yahoo Search, but Yahoo Search is built on top of Microsoft's Bing Search. So there really are only 3 search engines that dominate the world. When you talk about the number of searches globally, those 4 search engines are right over 97% of all searches on the internet. And so those are the targets for when you're trying to get your information found online. They all have spiders. Spiders are their bots, they're robots that scour the internet and scrub every single web page that they can find and try and figure out what it means and when that web page should be brought up in search results, no matter what the topic is. Back in 2012, the estimate was that there were about 3.7 trillion web pages, and that's already 3 years old. So it's an immense amount of information that has to be sorted through. Once they sort through it, all the web pages get a score. Google calls it PageRank, if you've heard that before. You can also look at Moz and Majestic. Moz calls it authority, Majestic calls it trust and trust flow. There are different ways to measure how valuable, how important a web page is. And that's where your infographic is going to get ranked or categorized so that it shows up in search results. Outside, there are there are over 200 ranking factors in Google. This is actually a pretty immense, I'll go and trigger it, infographic. This tall infographic is all 200 ranking factors of what SEOs have been able to measure and track and actually truly identify that Google is using in their algorithm to decide which web pages to show in search results. It's an immense, complicated mess. But for our standpoint, we're really going to only talk about 2 different aspects that we need to be concerned about when we're publishing infographics online. There, it finally made it. The first one is link analysis. So the web page is evaluated based on how many links are coming back to directing people to your infographic. So one of the things that the search engines do is they measure if there are a lot of sites and if their popular sites are linking back to your infographic that implies to the search engines that, hey, this is good content, we should show this to more people in search results. So link analysis is one. The second aspect is semantic analysis, which is words. So what keywords can Google or what any search engine relate to your content, whether it's an infographic, whether it's a blog post, your product page, whatever it is, it's links and words are the two things that really dominate when your content is going to show up in search results. So they take those two and the rest of those 200 ranking factors and throw them into what they call the index, which is this master file of the trillions and trillions of web pages that they've been able to scour and evaluate and decide when those show up in search engine results. And they do it very quickly. I mean, it's an immense technology that'll get you a result in literally a fraction of a second, and you'll get millions of results for anything you search for. Now on the other side, our attention span is a lot shorter. And it's because more and more information not only is being thrown at us, but we are out there looking for more and more information. This research shows us that on average, in America, a citizen is exposed to what they call the information equivalent of 280 newspapers per day. It used to be 174 back in 2007, and even only 40 newspapers per day back in 1986. Meaning that that's all the information being thrown at you, advertisements, news, movies, TV, the internet, and as well as stuff that you're out there looking for. So you're out looking for information, you're reading on your own and choosing what information you want to consume.
Do they have that broken down by ads?
No, they don't have that broken down.
Just
I haven't found that. I'd love
wondering
to find that.
if the marketing has continued to...
Yeah, oh, it definitely has. And every day we add more and more information on the internet, right? The stuff that never goes away, the internet just keeps getting bigger. And so it gets harder and harder every single day for you to find information that's actually relevant, that's actually what you're out there looking for. So what does that mean to us? For infographics, we've got to be able to break through that noise. We have this beautiful design, we've done this great research, we have this great data, but how do we actually get people to see it is really what we're talking about tonight. The challenge is that this is what your infographic looks like to search engines. They have no idea what's in your image file because this is just an image file that your browser will display when it displays the web page. It can't read it, it can't see anything about it, it can't see any numbers, can't see any text, has no idea what your infographic is about. And so it's usually the designer's job or the marketer's job to tell the web team, here are the things we need to do to optimize, and what we're going to talk about tonight is make this infographic on the web and on the company web page actually findable, shareable, and valuable to the company. So it's surprising. I mean, a lot of web teams, they'll do exactly what you tell them to do, but very few of them are really good at optimizing content for you and optimizing your pages. It's up to you to ask the right questions and ask them to do the right things. So part of the goal is on the linking side, you want a nice, clean place that other sites can link to. Now you want, really big media sites, that'd be fantastic to get them to link to your infographic. But sometimes it's just as simple as getting blogs in your industry to link to your infographic or people to share it on Twitter and Facebook, that kind of thing. You need to have people linking back to your infographic so that the search engines say, or can realize when they do their link analysis, hey, other people are linking to that content, that must be valuable content. On the other side, again, is keywords, but social media doesn't count. So a lot of people focus a lot of energy on going viral and trying to get, hundreds and even thousands of likes on Facebook or Pinterest or wherever. Likes and shares and +1 and tweets, none of that will impact your ranking in Google because Google doesn't use those social signals as part of those 200+ ranking factors. It's great to get the word out there, to get it exposed to a whole bunch of people, but it doesn't actually impact your infographic and where it shows up in search engine results. So you get it out there and get a lot of people to see it in social media with the hope is they're going to then post it, repost it, or post a link to it from their website, their blog, or wherever, so that that's the link that the search engines begin to see. So this is where we come in, right? So we want to optimize and publish this infographic to make it as easy as possible, not only for the search engines, but for the audience that's coming to look at it. You want them to be able to share it. And we're going to run through 11 different aspects of publishing your infographic that are going to help you out tremendously when you publish even infographics, but any visual content or any content. So company advertisements, blog posts, even product page. All of this makes a huge difference in making it easy to find and making it easy to share for the audience. Okay, so for the purposes of tonight, we're going to talk about this fake infographic. Right, we've designed this fabulous infographic on SEO tips, strategies used by the experts. And we've identified that we've got a couple keywords that we're really interested in, so that when people search for SEO strategies, we want them to find this infographic. That's really what we're after. So number one is online lifespan. We've already done it by designing the infographic in the first place. But it's really important that your infographic has a long, what I call online lifespan. You can spend the same amount of time doing the data research and the designing an infographic that only lasts a week because it was a hot trending topic, versus something that's informational and going to be informational for years on end. So for example, the royal wedding a couple years ago had easily between 75 and 100 different infographics, all designed leading up to the wedding. The wedding happened and they all became obsolete because they were all done and the news cycle moved on. So the online lifespan of a lot of these infographics was only 1 week long, and then people stopped searching for it, people were moving on. More locally, the BP oil spill, just because it took so long for them to cap the well, it was in the news cycle for a lot longer. There were some immense infographics with a ton of information comparing that spill with every other oil spill in history. And they lasted about a month because, again, the news cycle moved on as soon as they finished capping the well, and you really don't even talk about the BP oil spill anymore. Anybody seen the Death and Taxes poster before? Death and Taxes is a poster that evaluates the federal budget every year. And so every one of these circles is sized appropriately for the amount of spending allocated to each department and to the expenses within each department. It's good for a year until the new budget comes around. Right, so it has a life cycle of a year. It's really popular. It's put in schools and a lot of government offices and stuff like that. But if you don't update it every year, it becomes obsolete. So every year they have to put out a new one that has the most current information. This is the Halloween poster. The visual history of Halloween that goes from ancient times to current times, about the evolution of the holiday and even all the monsters associated with Halloween. And it doesn't change. However, it's very targeted. It's very popular in, as you can imagine, October every month or every year, and only in October. But it's popular that same month every year, which is great for frightcatalog.com, which is an online retailer of costumes. They love that, a spike in traffic every October. That's great for them. And it was designed years ago and will continue to be popular in years into the future. And then something like this one from winefolly.com is pairing wine and food, which is pretty much a simple diagram of which wines go with which food categories, and it's not going to change. Right? The wines that go with dessert food or chicken or cheeses is not going to change. This is going to be relevant and useful, and they're going to sell it as posters for years to come. So choosing that topic up front makes a big difference, because that online lifespan means you will get ongoing clicks and ongoing links back to the infographic, and all that's very valuable in optimizing or getting benefit from publishing the infographic in the first place. You want a long online lifespan. Number two is the infographic image itself. You've designed this image, you've saved it, in this case as a JPEG file, and it's an image, and you do not want that JPEG to go online as with the file name of infographic.jpg. That's going to make it so generic that it's going to look like a whole bunch of other images that are out there. And the point is that Google actually uses the words in the file name of the image to try to figure out what that image is. So you really want to craft a good file name before you publish it online. One lesson is a lot of people love to put underscores to separate words in file names. So in this case, we're going to name it SEO Strategies Experts Infographic. If I use underscores, Google considers underscores to be called word joiners, meaning it will put all those words and it'll run them all together as one word. So if anybody searches for this big long word, you'll find your infographic, but not the separate words themselves. Hyphens and dashes are, in fact, word separators. So if you use a dash in between each of these words, Google can actually see those as separate words. and put it in the index that way. So you have to be very careful about what words you use. These are the keywords we were going after in the first place, and that you actually split them with a separator so that Google can tell the difference between those words. So, in our fictional infographic, our good file name, we're going to resave it as SEO Strategies Experts Infographic.jpg, and that's going to be the file that we're going to publish online. But then, number 3, where do we put it? There's a huge controversy, or let's say discussion, about where infographics should be posted and published in the first place. And there are really 3 things that you, as the publisher, want from an infographic, right? You want to direct as many views and links to one place as you can. Going back to Google's index, if they see a lot of links that go to one URL, they consider that to be valuable content. If you publish it in a whole bunch of different places and you get a couple links in each place, then you don't get the same kind of, what they call Google juice. You don't get the same benefit from seeing all those links. You want to be able to see the analytics and have control of that URL. You want it to be one of yours. So that if anything happens, if you want to move it, if you want to change it, you have full ability to do so. And you also want to be able to edit and modify it whenever you want to. You don't want to put it on somebody else's website and have them be the host and them go out of business or them change their website and suddenly your infographic's gone. So as a company, we want to load a page. What we don't want to do, and we see this a lot, is that a company will put up the file on the server as just the JPEG image and then start sending a whole bunch of links to the JPEG image. So they'll tweet about it and they'll link to the JPEG image on the server. They'll put it on Facebook, they'll put it on their blog, and they'll just link to this JPEG image. That's a big problem from an analytics side because you can't really track accurately how many people are viewing your image. You can track how many people go to a web page, but not how many people are viewing and opening up that image. So what you want is a landing page. And there are a whole bunch of places you can put a landing page. On the company website, on the company blog, the company Facebook page, you can guest post somewhere and post it there, or you can upload it to an infographic gallery like Visually, where it's just a hosting of infographics. What we really want, and these are actually in order of the best case to the worst case, what we really want is a dedicated page on the company website. That is the best case scenario where if you can get a dedicated URL on your company website, you're going to drive traffic to that infographic. It's also going to drive traffic to your company website. You're going to be able to track it. You're going to be able to control it. So we create a dedicated web page on the company site, and we name the page itself the same as the image. So in this case, instead of .jpg, it's now a .html, and that gives us access to analytics. We can completely change the layout of the page and add as much or as little text as we want to around the infographic. It's also very important, just as a bonus, you want to put that URL, whenever you determine what it is, you want to put it in the infographic image itself. A lot of people, I might even say most people who share infographics online, don't link back to the company that designed it in the first place. They'll grab the JPEG image and they'll repost it, which is great, but people can't find your original unless you put that URL in the image file and it goes with it wherever it gets shared. Okay, so our landing page URL follows the same idea as the file name, right? We're using the same keywords because Google's going to look at your URL keywords or any words it can determine at all in your URL as part of understanding what is that content. We're going to use the dashes as the word separators. And I also like to do is go to Bitly and go ahead and pre-populate, pre-create a link shortener. Especially if you end up on a website. Even this looks like a long URL, but it's not. A lot of company web pages, the way they're set up, is actually be a lot longer than this. So you're going to want your own link shortened that you can control and then publish as well. And you'll notice that both the file name and the URL include the word infographic. And I do that on purpose because more and more people are actually searching for the word infographic when they go to Google. This is the Google Trends analysis of just the word infographic, and you can see in the last, say, 4 years, 3 or 4 years, it has really exploded, where people will search for something and then just throw on the word infographic because it's a whole lot easier to do research in a topic or learn about something if they can read an infographic about it versus reading Wikipedia or some long article about it. So I generally try to suggest always put that word infographic at the end of both the JPEG file name and the URL.
What is the vertical axis there? On your-
Here, this is their scale of 0 to 100, 100 being the most searches by week, I think it is,
Oh, okay.
in the Google Trends analysis, and so they normalize everything to a 0 to 100 scale.
Okay, thank you.
They don't actually publish how many searches that truly is. You can also notice just in trends, you can see this dip every year between Christmas and New Year's. Everybody goes home, most people look at infographics from work. So we see this consistently between Christmas and New Year's. There's a huge dip in people searching for infographics. Don't publish your infographics between Christmas and New Year's. Okay, so this is what it looks like, right? We're going to start to build this landing page that's going to be, the right way, the way we were going to publish this online. So we populated it with the URL. Generally, an infographic landing page follows this layout. You want to have some text. You want to have some sharing buttons up near the top where it's easy for people to get to and easy for people to share. The full original infographic image itself, and then some embed code. And so we're going to walk through some of that. The first thing is, though, is you don't get to see it, is you need to set up a title tag. Is everybody familiar with title tags? So title tags are in HTML. The user, the viewer of the web page only sees them in certain instances, but usually it's in the background. You load it in the header section of the page. A lot of content systems, you have a form that you'll fill in. You don't have to actually write out the HTML like this, where it's really easy to set that title tag. And you want to use natural language. A lot of shady black hat SEO practices were just to throw a whole bunch of keywords in there that made no sense whatsoever. And they're smart guys at Google, they figured that out. This is really meant for easy ways for people to find your content. And the word order matters. In fact, it does as well in the JPEG file name and the URL. Words at the beginning are weighted to be more important than words at the end. And so if you have a whole lot longer than this one, this is only 4 words long, but if you've got 10 or 12 words, the words at the beginning will be more heavily weighted. So title tags are important because they show up everywhere else. When you do a Google search result, that blue clickable link for each result you get, that's the title tag of that page. So whatever title tag you set up for your infographic page, that's the words, that's the phrase that's going to show up in Google search results. It's visible to the user, so either in the tab or in the title bar of their browser, that's the text that shows when they're on that page. And anybody else when you share it, this is on Facebook, when you put in a link and it grabs the content from that link, this is the title tag. It puts up here as the title in that link when it brings up the image and the text. So your users are actually going to see that title tag in a lot of different areas. The other thing is you want them to be about, and it's just sort of a general rule, 55 characters or less. If you go over 55 characters, Google will start cutting off the end because it just doesn't fit on the Google search page anymore. So all these are nicely shorter than 55 characters. This one went a little bit long, and you get the ... that says, oh, there's more, but we've cut it off at this point. And you don't want that. You're going to put your title tag out there. You want them to read the whole thing. All right, so this title tag shows up in the header bar when someone views your landing page. So number 5, we need a page title. And a page title is different than the title tag. The title tag was up in the header. The page title actually shows down here in the body of the content of the work. We use these H1 attributes, which makes it big and bold on the page because the user's going to see it. But Google also is looking for those H1s. Because anything tagged as H1, Google considers to be the most important content on the page. So these words are what Google are actually going to look for first, and then they're going to dig into the URL and the file of the image file name and stuff like that. But you should only have one phrase that's tagged as H1 on a page, because if it has more than one, then it loses and can't tell which is more important than the other. So when we put this on the page, this is actually in the content. The page title now in H1 shows up big and bold on the web page for the user. So again, we want natural words. This is what they're actually going to read when they land on this page with your infographic on it. Number 6 is we want a text description. We talked about semantic search and how that's a huge part of what Google's trying to figure out of what your content is, because it can't tell what's in the image file. So this is your chance to write a short paragraph that some of your viewers are going to read, your audience. Some of them aren't, but Google's definitely going to read it and definitely going to try and figure out, this is the content, these are the words you use to describe your infographic, then that's what I need to use to put it into the index and figure out when to show it to people as results. And you can even include text links, so it doesn't have to be just straight dry text. And that does a couple things. One, it adds to their link analysis, because you can link out, in this case, for example, we're going to link out to a services page within the company website. But a lot of people that repost infographics, myself included, when we repost infographics, we will grab this text because we want this text to be in our blog post or whatever, because Google's looking for text there as well. And the nice thing is, if you've included text links in your descriptive text, a lot of times people will just copy and paste that, and now you've got a text link from an outside website as well. It's just huge, just continues to add to those links that go back to your website. So we throw that in, shows up as just standard text at the top of our page, and now we've got some text that not only the readers can see, but Google can see. Number 7 is social sharing buttons. Okay, so you need to make it really easy, or your web team needs to make it really easy for people to share your infographic. Like I said, social media is great for awareness. This is probably a huge way that people are going to find your infographic in the first place before they decide to repost it or share them themselves. And you can do it a couple ways. You'll be surprised how often I really have to twist clients' arms to actually put social sharing buttons on the page. They generally just want people to copy and paste the URL and do their own thing. But that just really adds a level of difficulty or a hurdle you don't want your audience to have to go over. You can do it individually. Twitter has code for their own button, Facebook has code for their own button, Pinterest has code for their own button. You can literally go to each of the sites you want to have sharing buttons for and get the button code from them to include on the page. There are a couple services, I think these are the 3 main ones, that are multi-button code that you would embed on your web page only once. And it would show, and you can choose what kind of style you want, but it'll show multiple buttons, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and whatever, but only from this one company. You've got 1 block of code instead of 6 blocks of code. It does make it a whole lot easier. But you want to put them at the top. And more so than just putting the button, you want to take the time to customize what pops up, what text is going to show up when somebody tweets about it, posts it on Facebook or whatever. This is the custom panel for Twitter when you use the Twitter button. And it lets you put in here your own text that it will suggest to the user. So it doesn't have to be the title tag, because that's what it's going to use if you do nothing. You can put in here, love these expert SEO strategies, and so now when they hit the tweet button, it's going to propose that text to them, and then they can modify it if they want to, but you have control over what that proposed text is. And most people will not modify it. Most people will just take that text and hit tweet and be done with it. They don't want to be bothered with rewriting the tweet. You can add hashtags. You can add your own username or your company username and customize that so it's set of defaults that pops up whenever they hit that button. So we throw that code in. This is one of those multi-share button codes, and so we've got those at the top of the page. I've seen a lot of people make the mistake of putting them at the bottom of the page. A lot of users, when they come to your infographic, really don't end up scrolling all the way to the bottom. You want those social sharing buttons near the top of the page. All right, number 8. Now we're going to put the image on the page. And so this is the code in HTML. You can do an insert image depending on your content or your platform that your website's on. But this is what the code looks like to add the image source. So here's our JPEG file name as the image source. But you want to use what's called this alt text attribute. Historically, this has been the text that shows up if you turn off images when you're web browsing. Anybody remember turning off images because your internet connection was so slow you didn't want to wait 5 minutes for the images to load? Well, this is the text that would show up if somebody turned off images. Today, hardly anybody ever does that, but Google knows about it, and Google's spiders will search that and look at that text, because that text is tied directly to the image itself, not to the page as a whole like the text description is, but this alt text is tied specifically to this JPEG image. And so it will use this text as well to try and figure out what your infographic is all about. So we put that code into the body, and bam, right? Our infographic is now part of our landing page and shows up. At the bottom, number 9, we want to put embed code. Now, embed code is this block of HTML code that anybody can copy and paste to put into their own website, and your infographic will magically appear. And it saves them the hassle of having to download your JPEG, upload it to their server, and then import it into a blog post and do a whole bunch of stuff. If they just copy this and paste it, it's actually going to go to your server to get the image to display. But it also gives you a little bit of control. Like here, we've got the alt text attribute. We've predefined it so that that appears when somebody else uses the embed code on their website. We've defined that here's our landing page. This is where I want somebody else to link to if they post our infographic on their webpage. And some other text as well. You do want to keep it pretty simple. You don't want code like that scrolls out of this block and it looks like you're putting a whole bunch of web code on somebody else's webpage. You're just going to scare them off. You want it to be pretty simple and straightforward. Just display the image and a link back to your original. Otherwise, most people won't even use it. But it is fully functional HTML code. And so when it looks like this, you've got to tell your web page not to actually run the code, but to actually display the code as text. And so that's what this text area attribute does. We start text area and end text area, and everything in between, it's just going to display. It's not going to actually try and run that code. And so that's how we build this block right up here. And so we throw that code in, and so now it says, please share this infographic on your site by copying and pasting this code below, and now we've got a nice block of text HTML code that anybody can copy and paste. So we followed basically this general layout, right? So we've got text, we've got sharing buttons, we've got our infographic image, and we've got some embed code to make it easy to share at the bottom. Now, number 10 says, okay, you're ready to start sharing it. You want to create some shareable thumbnails. You want to create some smaller images that come out of the full-size infographic, because those are going to be easier for people to share, primarily in social media, but you'll find people also use them in blog posts as well. A couple different sizes. This is 4 different snippets, all from one infographic, to help promote that infographic. And there are a couple reasons for that. The big one is, these are different infographics all on the same topic, which is image files that display in all the social media sites are different. So the size that displays in Facebook is different than the size that displays in Twitter, which is different than Pinterest and LinkedIn and everywhere else. And it changes too. So you sort of have to keep up to date with which sizes are on which social media sites. So we can pre-program these so that they appear nicely with those thumbnail images when you either, in this case, Facebook or tweet it or anywhere else. So the difference is, this is an explicit image, meaning we uploaded the image and then added some text, almost like uploading a photo to your Facebook feed and then adding text about it. The nice thing is when you do that in an explicit manner, Facebook displays a nice big image in somebody's news feed when they're following you and they see that post. An implicit image is when you post a link in your text, it will go to that link and try and find information. So it'll find a little thumbnail and fit it in here. Then over here, it'll put your title tag and the beginning of your description, your descriptive text here. And so it shrinks it down quite a bit if you just use the link and have it pull in an implicit image. So that's Facebook. Google Plus does the same thing, where this is an implicit image where we just put the link in and it went and grabbed it. This is an explicit image, that same image. If we upload it, Google Plus does it very large and nice. And even Google Plus can handle tall infographics as well. Not too tall, but fairly tall, where it'll display it as a big image versus shrinking it down and making it this little thumbnail on the side. So you want to create those shareable thumbnails. This is Twitter. So if you were to take this large, this is one I posted on the blog this week, this large infographic, and you were just to put it in as an image in Twitter, Twitter just grabs the center. It literally will cut off everything above and below, anything that'll fit its 2:1 aspect ratio. So it's in your best interest to go create, and in this case it's just cut off from the title. Create your own 2:1 image just for Twitter, And then if you upload that, it's a way better looking image that goes along with your social media posts than just having them pick something right out of the middle and just cutting off the rest. And then finally, number 11 is making it mobile friendly. So anybody been caught up in the effort to redo your websites to make them mobile friendly? Anybody tied into that? No? In April this year, Google started using mobile friendliness as a measure as one of their ranking factors. So websites that are considered to be not mobile friendly are falling farther and farther down the search results because their ranking is getting hurt or hit in a bad way because they're not mobile friendly. So you as the designer can do a couple things with your infographic to actually improve or help this. So for example, if our full-size, nice, high-resolution infographic is 2,000 pixels wide, what you do not want to do or do not let your web team do is use sizing in the HTML code to display it smaller to fit on the web page. So in this case, the width would only be 800, which is pretty general for content online. So they tried to shrink your 2,000 pixel wide infographic to fit on the web page at only 800 pixels. By doing it this way, this just tells the browser to display it smaller. But through your internet connection, you're still downloading this full high resolution image. And it makes loading your web page really slow. So what you want to do is actually on the design side, compress your images and make an 800 pixel wide image and make smaller images like this 500 pixel wide image so that they're smaller image files to begin with and they download faster, whether it's to your desktop or to your mobile device, your tablet, your phone, or whatever. In fact, this is sort of an inside secret that we use is we generally use this 500 pixel image in the embed code because most blogs like WordPress and content systems only have about 600 pixels wide in their actual content space. Where if the original is 800 and then they use your embed code to paste it in, it'll just blow off to the side and go right through their sidebar. So we generally create smaller images and then use those smaller images in the embed code. Google has set up a tool that you can test any page on your website, your front page or your infographic landing page or any page you want for mobile friendliness. You just enter the URL and it will give you its analysis of whether that page is mobile friendly or not and give you tips as to what's wrong with it and why it is unfriendly compared to their stats and their results. So that's 11. So we dialed it up to 11. Anybody know? Spinal Tap. Anybody there? No? No? Come on. 11 things that you creating the infographics can lead your company, your web developer, your web team, whoever to do to make sure that your infographics get shared, get indexed, and show up in search results. So I'll open that up to questions. Any questions? Anybody? No? Okay. Go ahead.
When you're talking about shareable thumbnails,
yes,
you're actually, before you started sharing on the social media sites, you're actually creating the thumbnails based on their criteria, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So knowing like a square one would fit well in Instagram,
Okay.
or these wide ones would fit well in Twitter. You know, we would create these on the design side before it gets published.
Okay.
And sometimes, this one, it's just a crop, right? We just crop the title block off the infographic, where in other times these are actually redesigned. They include the footer, they include the logo, even though it's only one data point from the infographic itself.
So I've seen those where they're, especially when they're different sizes, they actually put the dimensions in the name of the infographic, the image. Is that a recommendation based off of, does that kind of extend?
We do that to keep track of which file it is.
Right, because there's a lot of them.
Google doesn't care.
Okay. So if you had 4 like you do on the left, if you divided them out,
Yeah.
you're not really loading one on that in that page, you're loading 4.
No, this is still one JPEG image,
Okay.
not 4 separate ones.
Okay.
So we would create separate, smaller JPEG images based on that content
And how would I get
because
that?
these are easier to share.
So when you share, you're gonna the share code is going to point to the customized one as opposed to...
Yes,
Okay.
so the companies on their Facebook page would use one of these to post
Okay.
and say, learn more at this link, which is the link to the full infographic. And I have seen, I don't know how far back.
I just wasn't clear on how they were getting the smaller one versus that.
Yep, and I have seen people that below the full infographic post the smaller ones as well. Right, so anybody can then grab them
Yes,
and
I
share a
have seen
smaller one
multiple.
versus sharing the full one.
Multiple markup chunks, yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so are there guidelines to the sites that you should use posted on these
Yep.
social media sites?
These were the most current ones I've seen. These are cheat sheets for image sizes and all the different social media sites.
Okay,
They do change
yeah.
once a year, a couple times a year. It's not as constant as it is. I do find that this Twitter size, this 2:1 ratio, pretty universal, other than maybe Instagram. This size will appear and not get cut off on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Google Plus, and Twitter. So a lot of people will default to this 2:1 aspect ratio because they can use it on multiple sites.
Okay. And then the media itself, the site itself will resize it to fit their...
Yep, to fit into, it'll shrink the width,
Mhm.
and then if the height is too high, it'll cut it off.
Okay.
But if you do 2:1, it'll fit perfectly.
Okay.
I know a lot of people search for infographics using the image search and
Yep.
not the text search. I gather the alt tag in the image would help Google identify what that image is, but are there any other specific things that you can do to make image search a little bit better for infographics?
No, it's doing the same thing. It's using those keywords, even if you go in the image search, unless, and I don't have a slide for it here, unless you're actually searching by image. You know, you can upload, you can drag an image in there and have it search for similar images. And that's just based on its analysis of the picture itself. But yeah, it's using keywords, it's using the alt text, it's using anything it can in the index to display that image. The other nice thing is that when you set up this landing page like this is the dominant image on the page, right? You don't load it with advertisements and product images and a whole bunch of other stuff, because this makes it really simple for image search specifically, that Google knows that all this content has to do with this image, and this is the image to display when you do an image search.
There's no search engine. It can decode the content of the image, right?
Right. They've tried OCR, and it's not reliable. You know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. People put different fonts, you know, in an infographic, or they'll try handwriting, or they'll put colors that it can't read the difference of, you know, that kind of thing. So OCR, they've tried to read text out of the graphics themselves, and it just is unreliable.
But OCR is more for text, am I
Right.
right?
Right, so it would be trying to pull any text out of your infographic, you know, like your title and your stats and, you know, anything else like that, but not the actual separate images or the graphs or anything like that.
I think that's predominantly because of the images are trying to be compressed.
Right.
And so any text that might have been there before it's written out in the image format that's uncompressed. You're trying to get it to be compressed at
Right.
whatever rate, both the resolution and whether it's lossy or not.
Right.
And so you lose the meta information that we make sense out of, because you place the thing on there that looked like text, but it all gets collapsed and compressed to get to a JPEG, ping, or whatever.
Right. And the file form, sorry.
I have seen some people try to post PDFs, right? So if you have a PDF and all that text is live in the PDF, the search engine can see that, but it's really hard to get those to fit appropriately and then get shared appropriately. So a lot of people, what they'll do is either in this text description up here or right below it say, you know, download the full PDF here, you know, and make it a downloadable link, but not the actual image on the page itself, because it's a whole lot faster just to load a quick JPEG that's been optimized for that size.
And the file format doesn't matter, right? JPEG or...
No, JPEG, PNG, GIF, you know,
Whatever
image
your
files.
browser supports.
Huh?
Whatever your browser supports.
Yeah, whatever your browser supports. Those three are basically universal.
So for mobile friendliness, you talk about using different sizes, like
Mhm.
pre-compressed sizes, right? Do you allow the user to actually zoom in on an image if it displays, say, on a mobile and it's, you know, the
And it's
width
small,
is constrained, yeah, to the container and it's small?
Yeah, so if you did the, let's see, the 500 pixel version. Where did I put it? So this one here. So this was the one that shows up in, so there's a landing page, the company blogs about it, and they use this smaller version in their blog, and you've got this embed code that this is what it's going to display if somebody else uses it in their blog. But that link always takes them back to this full-size version. So if they click on this in the blog, or they click on it in somebody else's blog that used that embed code, it will take them to that full-size version, even if they're on a mobile phone.
Okay, so they
Now-
get to pan around, I guess?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then usually if you click on this image, some people will put an even higher resolution image so that you can like pinch and zoom on your phone to get to it. Generally I say you don't want an image bigger than 800 pixels if you can help it. You don't want something that complex and text that small that people have to zoom in on. It also depends on your platform, so like what your website's built on. I know there are a ton of plugins for WordPress that will create multiple sizes as soon as you upload an image. If you're familiar with Squarespace, they create like 7 different image sizes every time you load an image so that it knows based on the screen size that's calling the web page which image will be the fastest to send them.
Okay.
And speeds up your website quite a bit. Okay. Just to wrap up, just stuff about B. There is a free chapter of my book that you can download at Cool Infographics /book. Feel free to download that chapter. We do have an active LinkedIn discussion group. We've got about, I don't know, 1,300 members, something like that, of designers and marketers. And the intent is to have an actual useful conversation about designing data visualization and publishing infographics. And then we moderate out people that just show up and say, hey, check out my infographic, you know, and trying to use the group for links. So we'll moderate those out and keep this as useful discussion. So please feel free to join the group, answer questions, ask questions of your own. It's a really intelligent crowd that likes to answer questions. And again, my class, flyers are over there. If you want the $50 discount or a description of what the class is, and I'm open to talk about that too if you want to ask about who's the right kind of people or what kind of topics we cover. And that's it. Thank you for coming out. If you have any other questions, I'm open. I'm not going anywhere very quick. And please take a cookie and have a drink on the way out.
I thought of something else. So
Okay.
as far as, so you have a snippet of code to allow people to embed
Mhm.
something, and I guess whenever somebody accesses that infographic, it sends a request to your server. Have you ever had, now I don't know how big you have to get, but have you ever had problems with the server being inundated with a lot of requests?
No, the image file requests are usually pretty simple and pretty clean. They won't log down your server.
Okay.
It saves their server space because they're not uploading the JPEG images to their server. It's calling your server to get the image. And it also means that if you ever have an update,
Oh, right.
you update it on your server and these will display it correctly because it will display the most current version.
Okay. It's actually a pretty good practice.
Yep. But you can't force people to use it.
Yeah.
Right, so you'll get a bunch of people who do use it and a bunch of people who just grab the JPEG image and post it on their own.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Randy.
Thank you, Randy.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.